Hola clase, bienvenidos. Hoy vamos a repasar la gramática de capítulo 4. Okay, so let's spend a few minutes reviewing part of chapter 4 grammar. In chapter 4, there are 4 perfect tenses that we learned, and I'd like to spend a few minutes reviewing those so we can keep them all straight once we start intermixing them. Okay, first up, I want to talk about the present perfect tense. I have provided you with a note guide. I'd like you to fill in the note guide as we watch the video and then complete the practice problems at the end. The first verb tense you're going to see is the present perfect. Okay? The present perfect means I have blank. So I have talked, I have studied, you have walked, etc. To form it, you need haber with a past participle. Now, this is called the present perfect tense, so you're obviously going to need the present tense of haber with the past participle being hado or ido. So let's take a closer look at that. Your present tense conjugation of haber is going to be has, hemos, habéis, han. You don't need to worry about the vosotros. Write it down if you would like, but it will not be on the test or quiz. Then the past participle. Remember, a past participle is formed by dropping the AR, ER, or IR, and adding hado or ido. Also, just a reminder that this is a verb tense, so do not change your past participle to reflect the gender of anything. Okay, this cannot be hada, hados, hadas, etc. Okay, this is the verb tense, so it does not show gender. Here's an example. I have eaten, you would say he comido. Okay, let's go on to the second perfect tense we had in chapter 4. That was the past perfect. Its meaning, I had blanked, you had blanked, so I had seen, you had called. To form it, we need haber with the past participle. And because it's called the past perfect, I'm going to need a past form of haber. Okay, that past form is going to be the imperfect. So here's its conjugation. Había, habías, había, habíamos, and habían. Again, with our past participle, which is hado or ido. A quick example for us, I had eaten would be había comido. Okay, the third perfect tense we've had in chapter 4 is going to be your future perfect. Its meaning, I will have or you will have. So I will have prepared, you will have eaten. To form it, again, you need haber with the past participle. But because it's the future perfect, you're going to need the future of haber. Okay, let's look at its conjugation. It would be habré, habrás, habrá, habremos, and habrán. Again with the past participle of hado or ido. I will have eaten, habré comido. Okay, the last perfect tense we reviewed or learned in chapter 4 was the conditional perfect. Its meaning is I would have blanked or you would have blanked. So I would have arrived, you would have studied. To form it, you're going to, again, haber with a past participle. This time, haber will be in the conditional tense. Here's its conjugation. Habría, habrías, habría, habríamos, and habrían. With the past participle, hado or ido. I would have eaten would translate to habría comido. Okay, so once you get down the present perfect, you can basically do any of the rest of the perfect tenses because they're all formed the same way, which is nice. One part that does make this tense or these tenses challenging are the irregulars. So on our next slide, we're going to look at some of the irregular verbs in the perfect tenses. What you should know is it's not going to be the form of haber that's irregular. Okay, if a verb is irregular in one of these tenses, it's going to occur in the past participle. So that means you can't go to the AR, ER, IR, or drop the AR, ER, IR, and then ADO or ETHO is your ending. Okay, so you've got some different endings going on. I've provided you on your note guide with the verb and its infinitive. What you need to write down are the irregular participles here in blue. Okay, go ahead and pause me to copy these down. Okay. One quick thing to note. Students have typically gotten these two verbs mixed up. Notice that volver is to return. Its past participle is vuelto, but to return an item is devolver, devuelto. Okay, one last section to cover on your note guide before we go to our practice problems, and that is pronoun placement. So, let's take a look back here. What if this had said, I would have eaten it? Where would the lo go? Do I put it before habría? Do I attach it to comido? Can I do either one? Could I ever put it in the middle? Okay. With the perfect tenses, you only have one option as to where that pronoun goes. That pronoun has to come before the form of haber. You cannot attach a pronoun to an ado or an ido. And never, ever, ever would you break up a verb tense to put a pronoun in between. Okay, so I've got two examples here for you. The first one is just for practice, and the second one is on your note guide. Please write that one down. So the first one, they haven't told me. And the second one, I have seen it. Go ahead and take a second. Pause me if you'd like. See if you could translate those sentences. Notice that both use the present perfect. Okay, so here's our answers. They haven't told me. Ellos no me han dicho. And then I have seen it. Yo lo he visto. Okay, notice that my pronoun came before the form of haber. And if the sentence was negated, it was between the no and the form of haber. Okay, we've got a few practice problems and then we're all done with our flipped video. Okay, practiquemos. Use one of the 4 perfect tenses to answer these questions. We'll do the first one together. I have traveled to many places. Okay, the verb to travel is viajar. You can tell by parentheses here we're using the present perfect. So the answer would be he viajado. Okay, please pause me to do numbers 2 through 6 on your own, and then we will go over your answers. Okay, repasemos. She will have visited, habrá visitado. They would have written, habrían escrito. You had read, habías leído. Notice I accented leído. That occurs with your ER, IR verbs when the stem ends in a vowel. Okay, so there's a couple, leído, creído, caído. Okay, that are going to pick up that accent purely to keep stress on the E of ido. Okay, 5 and 6 had pronouns to worry about. So I had already showered. Me había duchado. And we had protected ourselves. Nos hemos protegido. Okay, if you have any additional questions, please see the notes provided on page 88 to 91 of your textbook or write it down for me on your note guide. Okay, great.